Hello, this is Michael Bredehoft, and this is my Practicum presentation for the fall of 2013. Here's my table of contents. We have the personal introduction on page 3, goals page 4, philosophy statement page 5, major objective description page 6, and you have my activities on page 7 through 46, the summary reflection on 47 through 52, my bibliography 53 through 62, and my evaluation form on 63. A little bit about myself. I graduated from Winfield High School in 2000, and then Bethany College, go Swedes, in 2004. Since then, I've been teaching at Clearwater High School in Clearwater, Kansas. I currently teach chemistry and physics. I also did some teaching at physical science as well. The goals that I have for the practicum: to gain experience dealing with administrative issues, be a positive influence in my school and district through my administrative activities, to improve my school and district through this process by helping administrators perform some tasks, and also by making positive changes by seeing areas for improvement and working to bring about those changes. My philosophy statement: I believe the school's focus should be to create an environment in which every student can maximize their educational opportunities and abilities. I need to work to employ the best people possible in every area, and then work to give them the resources necessary to succeed. I need to have very clear goals for myself, my staff, and my students, and then work to ensure those goals are being met. And then lastly, I need to be a leader by modeling the goals and expectations and build positive relationships with those around me. My major objective: we have not had a student intervention team or SIT team the past few years. This semester we are reviving that team, and I am helping with that. We're also working on developing an instrument for teachers to refer new students to the SIT team, and I will help develop that as well. Now, my activities. First, my high school activities. I prepared the high school cross-country course. We have a very large meet, and I mowed the course, measured it, painted everything, got that ready to go, which I felt was standards 3, 4, and 5. Excuse me. There's a map of one of our courses. On September 5th, we had our initial SIT team meeting, which I felt was all of the standards. We met for the first time and determined how the new students would be referred and who's going to be the case manager. I am the case manager for some students. Then I also did the cross-country results that day. We did have 675 runners finish the races for the cross-country meet, so then I compiled all those results and emailed them out to the coaches. There's a copy of one of the results for running the races. Next, I supervised a high school football game, which I felt was standard 3, 4, and 5. There's a picture of the football game. I supervised high school volleyball on September 10th, which I felt was standards 3, 4, and 5. There's a couple pictures from the volleyball matches. This girl here, Brenda Vogel, she was the state volleyball player of the year, so we had an excellent volleyball season. On September 11th, I attended a 504 meeting, which I thought was standards 1 through 5, excuse me. We have a student who needs a 504 plan because he has had recurring problems due to concussions. So we were talking about what accommodations we can make based on that. Like I say here, 504 plans are an excellent option for those who need some extra resources. Also, on September 12th, I compiled some SIT team information. I contacted other schools in our league for information on what they do for their student improvement team and what forms they used, and then I compiled that information so our team here could start to decide what we were going to do. There's a couple of examples of what things people have done. Next, I entered an IEP meeting for a student who is in the gifted category. Like I said, we need to adjust our services. Our gifted facilitator is only here part of the time. She works for the special ed co-op for Sedgwick County, not at our school full-time, so we have to work through that. Next, on September 19th, I sent out Scholars Bowl invitations. I compiled emails of all the Scholars Bowl coaches in the area, and then created an informational letter for our tournament that we're going to have in December, to send out to them. There's a copy of the letter I made to send out. Also, one of the rules for Scholars Bowl, in order to have a Scholars Bowl team, is you have to submit questions for the Scholars Bowl regional and state tournaments. So I collaborated with other teachers and got those questions written. There are some of the examples of those. Next, I attended another SIP meeting. So now at this point we had kind of developed a referral form, but everybody thought it was too long, it's too cumbersome, so we need to make it shorter so that the teachers will actually want to fill out the form rather than it being too cumbersome. Next, we had a meeting on next generation science standards at the Service Center. Just talking about the new standards, what the new standards are, and how they will be implemented. There's an example of a page of the new science standards. On September 27th, we had a meeting on 504 plans, what 504 plans are and how they would be used. Like I say here, they should be used more than IEPs. It should be the first step in accommodations for many students. And here's the first page of the PowerPoint we looked at relating to 504 plans. Next, we had a meeting on school walkthroughs and objectives, informational meeting on our new school's method of walkthroughs. The big part of this was with the expectation that objectives will always be visible in the classroom, and also how to write these objectives. And those, again, are very important. Having and posting good objectives are key to students learning successfully. And there's the plan that we have in Clearwater for how to write and post student-friendly objectives. Next, we had a discussion with the science teachers about the new science standards after we had got to meet with other schools, how we're going to implement those in our building, as well as there's an article in the newspaper about a group that wants to attack the standards. This is an outside group, but they had a P.O. box that is in our district that basically wants to sue the state over the standards, even though the reasons why they're suing the state are kind of ridiculous because they're not even part of the standards, just misinformation. So talking about how we can work through that and eliminate the misinformation. There's the newspaper article about a lawsuit that they want to file. And again, that is in my district, and how are we going to combat that? Next are my elementary school activities. I helped with the book fair at the elementary school, monitoring the students and helping them make purchases, which I thought was standards 2, 4, and 5. Next, on November 13th, I did some walkthroughs with our elementary principal, our K through 3 principal. We just walked around, did the walkthroughs, went through the form, and then afterwards talked about what we saw. Here's our walkthrough form. He has this on his iPad, but he gave me some copies so that we could go through that together. Some hard copies. Next, I supervised the elementary school music program on November 14th. It was the 4th grade vocal concert. Got there early, made sure everybody was set up. Helped supervise during the concert, and then afterwards helping make sure everybody found their parents and all that sort of thing. Next, on November 19th, I attended an elementary site council meeting, which I thought was standards 4, 5, and 6. In that meeting, the teachers gave grade reports, school safety was discussed. Also, there was some issue with headlights with some students, so we talked about that. Here is the agenda for that meeting. Next, the last thing for the elementary school activities, I interviewed the elementary principal, the principal of the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, the intermediate center, different things that we discussed, good communication, how to schedule everything, which in their building they have different schedules depending on the grade, how to evaluate teachers, the evaluation tool again, and what a typical day for him involves. Now, my district activities, I attended the district school board meeting on the 9th of September, which I thought was all the standards. I also met with administrators, students, and patrons. The big thing there is our middle school has given all the students iPads, and so we were dealing with writing or changing our acceptable use policy for the technology regarding the iPads. And there's meetings for the minutes, or the minutes for the meeting, sorry, minutes for the meeting. Next, I attended a meeting on school funding on November 7th, which I thought was all the standards. We watched a video called Game On for Kansas Schools, which is also a website, gameonforkansasschools.com. Just, advocating for more school funding, which of course greatly affects us as a public school. Next, on November 11th, we had training on how to use EpiPens. We do have some students who carry around EpiPens, so just how to use those properly and use those safely in the case of students ever needing those. Also on September 11th, we had restraining training, which I thought was activity 1 through 5, how to safely restrain students when necessary. Next, I attended a school board meeting on November 11th, just a regular November board meeting. At that meeting, there wasn't a whole lot that they had to discuss. That's the minutes for the board meeting, or I guess the agenda for the board meeting. For my summary reflection, for the exploration stage, I felt this was a lot to get done in semester, but I also felt like I could get the high school activities done easily, but the elementary and district activities would be harder because since I'm not in those buildings. That actually, for the explanation stage, that seemed to be pretty accurate. I had no trouble getting the high school activities. The other requirements for graduation were not a problem. I did have a harder time with the elementary activities since I'm not there, and they don't have a lot of activities after school, that sort of thing, to find activities to do. The conjecture stage, the biggest problem I had was lack of communication. Like it says here, the buildings operate fairly independent of each other. Analysis stage, lack of communication that exists, it's not intentional. The buildings get caught up into what they're doing and don't collaborate as well as they should. And lastly, since this stage, the biggest impact is on how I view the SIT team and 504 plans. Both are very important and critical to the success of some students. They need to be utilized more, and they are a great opportunity to reach students in different ways so they can maximize their potential at school. Overall, my experience was very positive. I got to experience many different activities. I feel like I have a better grasp of the duties of an administrator and how to help them in my current role. I also have a better understanding of how to be a more effective administrator in the future. In my bibliography, most of these are having to do with the student intervention team, because that was one of my main topics. Again, that's another one on the intervention team. I also had some on 504 plans, because that was the other main topic that I had for the semester. So the difference between IEPs and 504 plans, how do you implement 504 plans, who should be getting 504 plans, only 1.2% of students have them, it should be more. The role of school professionals in 504 plans, the process, the 504 plan process. What do we do with students who need more help? What interventions are possible? And again, more basics on 504 plans, especially relating to arthritis. And then again, another one, 504 plans, and what does that require based on the law. And then that is my signed evaluation form, and that is my presentation. Thank you.